I'll start recording this video. Economic cycle definition for stages of business cycle. What are the topic we are going to cover? Economic cycle. How does it work? How does it work? What is economic cycle? Economic cycle or as a business cycle refer to the economic fluctuation between period of expansion and the contraction. Factors such as gross domestic product, interest rate, total employment, and consumer spending can help determine the current economic cycle stage. Understand the economic period can also investor and business determine what to make investment, when to make investment, when to pull the money out of, and as each cycle impact stock and bond as well as the profit and corporate and key takeaway in economic cycle overall state of economy as quotes to the four state of in cycle pattern expansion peak and contraction through factors such as GDP, interest rate, total employment, and consumer spending can help determine the current state of the economic cycle. The causes of cycle are highly debated among different schools of economics. Stages of economic cycle. An economic cycle is circular movement of economy move from expansion or contraction and back again. Economic expansion is characterized by both growth and construction, include recession and decline in economic activity can last several months. Four stages characterize economic cycle and business cycle. Expansion. During expansion, the economic experience relatively rapid growth. Interest rate tend to be low. Production increase the economic indicator associated with growth such as employment and wages. Corporate profit and output, aggregate demand and supply and goods and services tend to show sustained uptrend through the expansionary stages. The flow of incomes through an economy remain healthy and cost remain cheap. However, increase in money supply may suffer inflation during the economic growth phase. If the peak of cycle is when growth hits the maximum rate, price and economic indicator may stabilize for a short period before reversing to the downside. Peak growth typically creates some imbalance in the economy that need to be corrected. As a result, business may start to re-evaluate their budget and spending when they believe the economic cycle has been reached peak. A contraction, a correction occur when occur through slowly. Employment fall and price stagnant demand decreases. Business may be individually adjust production level, leading to oversaturated market with surplus supply and downward movement in prices. If contraction continues, the recessionary environment will spiral on depression. Through cycle reached through an economy hits low point with supply and demand hitting forward recovering. The low point in the cycle represent the painful moment of economy with widespread negative impact from the stagnating spending and economy. The low point provide an opportunity for individual and business to reconfigure their finances and entrepreneurship of economy. Measuring economic cycle, the key metric determine whether where the economy is in where it headed. The National Bureau of Economic Research is definitely source of marketing and official dates of economic cycle, relying primarily on changes in GDP. And we are measure the length of economic cycle from peak to peak. Since 1950, US economic cycle on average lasted about 5.5 years. However, there is variation of length of ranging from just 18 weeks during the peak to peak cycle 1980 to an expansion from just began to rise. According to NVER, two peak occurred between 19. The first was a quarter into of 29 big quarterly, according to a monthly peak happened on different quarter, which was noted. The wide variation cycle length dispensal of myth and economic cycle regular natural activity akin physical waves and streaming on the pendulum. But there is debate as we what factor are contribute. How many minutes has been completed? Around 10 minutes. We are what? Nothing. Wide variation in cycle length and dispels the myth and economic cycle are regular natural activity akin to physical waves. But there is a debate to what factor contribute the length of what causes them existing price rise. Managing economic cycle, government, financial institution, investors manage the course and the effect of the economic cycle differently. During recession, a government may use expansionary fiscal policy and rapid deficit spending. It can also try contractory fiscal policy by taxing, running a budget surplus to reduce aggregate demand spending to prevent the economy from overheating during expansion. Central bank use monetary policy when the cycle hit downturn, and central bank can lower interest rate to implement expansionary monetary policy to boost spreading and investment during expansion, and it contracting monetary policy by raising interest rate, showing the flow of credit in economy. During expansion, investors often find opportunities in the technology, capital goods, and energy sector. With the economy contract, investor may purchase companies which thrive during recession, such as utilities, consumer staples, healthcare. Business that track the relationship between their performance and business cycle plan strategically to protect themselves from the approaching downturn themselves to take maximum advantage of economic expansion. For example, if your business follows the rest of economy, warning sign of this impending recession may suggest you shouldn't expand. You may be better off building your cash reserve. Economic theory, monetarism suggests that the government can achieve economic stability through money supply growth rate. It ties the economic cycle of credit cycle pay changes in interest rate reduce economic activity by making borrowing household business or government more and less expensive. The Keynesian approach argues that the changes in aggregate demand spread and stability in volatility in investment demand is responsible for generating cycle. When business sentiment turn gloomy and investment slow, a turning fulfilling loop of economic malicious can result. Less spending means less demand, which include businesses of lay off work. According to Keynesian unemployment, less consumer spending, and the whole economy suffers with no clear solution other than government intervention. Economic stimulants. What are the stages of economic cycle? The economic cycle or business cycle has a four stages: expansion, peak, contraction, and growth. The average economic cycle in the US has been lasted roughly 5.5 years in 1950. Although there are three, this cycle can be very long. Factors to indicate the stages include gross domestic product, consumer spending, interest rate, and inflation. The National Bureau of Economic Research is the leading source of indicating length of the cycle. What happened to each phase of economic cycle? In the expansionary phase of economic growth over two or more consumer quarter, interest rates are typically lower, employment rise, and consumer confidence struggle. The peak phases occur when the economy reaches the maximum productive output, signaling the end of the expansion. After that point, employment number of housing start to decline, leading to contractive phase, the lowest point of the business. So the characterized by high employment, lower ability to credit, and falling price. What causes the economic cycle? The cause of the economic cycle is widely debated among the different economic school of the monetaries. For example, linked to economic cycle to segregate cycle. Here interest rate what intimately affect the price of debt, influence consumer spending of economic activity. On the other hand, as Keynesian approach suggests that the economic cycle is caused by volatility, investment demand, which is turn effect spending and employment. The bottom line, the economic of a business cycle refer to the cyclic pattern experienced by the economy. The economic remain in the expansion phase until it reaches peak. GDP, interest rate, employment, labor, consumer spending, and can definite. Although there is a different economic theories in explain. Let's read about what Khan Academy said about this. Lesson overview. Hercules, one side. Hercules. One side changes only thing that is constant. They certainly apply to national economy. Every nation economy fluctuate even between period of expansion and contraction. These changes are caused by the level of employment, production, productivity, and total demand for supply in nation goods and services. In short run, these changes led to a period of expansion and recession, but in long run, economic growth can occur, allowing a nation to increase their potential level of output over time. Key term. Business cycle model, a model showing the increase and decrease in nation real GDP over time. The model typically demonstrates increase in real GDP over long run, combined with short run fluctuation in output, aggregate demand, total demand of a nation output, including household consumption, government spending, business investment, and net export, aggregate supply, the total supply of goods that were produced by nation business. Expansion, the phase of business cycle during output is increasing. Recession, the phase of business cycle during the output is falling. Depression, a deep and prolonged recession. Depreciation, peak, the turning point of the business cycle between an expansion and a contraction. During a peak of business cycle, output has a spot increasing and begin to decrease. Though the turning point in a business cycle between a recession and expansion during a trough. A business cycle output has been falling during recession stage of business cycle, bottom output and begin to increase again. Recovery, when GDP began to increase, the following contraction. Though an economy is considered in a recovery until real GDP return to long-term potential output, the level of output an economy can achieve when it is producing full employment. When economy is producing at a potential output, it experiences Let's natural rate of unemployment, no more and no less. Growth trend. The straight line of business cycle model, which usually upward sloping, is showing the long run pattern of the showing real GDP or the positive output gap. The difference between actual output and potential output when an economy is producing more full employment amount. When there is a positive output gap, the rate of unemployment is less than natural rate of unemployment in economy operating outside the PPC. Already 10 minutes is completed in this video. Let's continue it. Negative output gap, the difference between actual output and potential output when economies are producing less than full employment out. When there is a negative output gap, the rate of unemployment is greater than the natural rate of unemployment in economy operating inside the PPC. Key takeaways. The business cycle model shows the how national GDP fluctuate over time, going through a phase of aggregate amount increasing and decreasing. Over the long run, the business cycle show a steady increase in potential output in economy. This is on economy expansion. When a real GDP is increasing, employment decreasing, peak the turning point of business cycle and which output is more increasing steadily. When output is decreasing and employment is increasing, the turning point at which recession end up and output start increasing again. Output gap in a business cycle. The output gap is the difference between the actual output and the potential output in a business cycle. Potential output, which means the nation could be producing all its resources were being used efficiently. In the business cycle model, a nation produce potential output in a given time. It is represented in the long run. Output gap exists whenever the current amount that a nation is producing is more or less than potential output. In the business cycle, whenever the business cycle curve is above the growth trend, that means the economy is experiencing positive output gap. Whenever a business cycle curve is below the grade, that means economy is experiencing negative output gap. That's simple. When actual output is above the potential output, aggregate demand has grown faster than aggregate supply, following the economy and output. Overacting in this instance means output is getting on unsustainably high level, at which unemployment is lower than the unnatural employment. Eventually, the business cycle has reached a peak and enter the recession. What actually output is below the potential output, aggregate has fallen, causing the fall of unemployment. And out when a negative output gap exists, unemployment rate will be higher than the rate of. Eventually, the business cycle will reach a toe and enter recovery and expansion. Potential output in the business cycle. Potential output in the business cycle is full employment output. Potential output is a real level of real GDP, that output that produce if all the resources are used efficiently. For example, in a labor used efficiently, the actual rate of unemployment will be equal to the. That's all. That's all. How many minutes has completed? Around 21 or 30 seconds. Economy is producing beyond in long run potential. Unemployment rate will be lower than NRU. During recession, real GDP fall below the potential unemployment rate. The actual employment rate is different than the natural rate of unemployment. Cyclic unemployment increase due to reduced output during recession. Expansion, peak recession, expansion, peak recession, peak recession. The business cycle model show the fluctuation in national aggregate output and employment. The model show the four phases and economic experience or expansion, peak recession. Though the business cycle curve is represented by solid line in the model line, output gap is represented by difference between actual output. During expansion, the business cycle is above the growth trend. During a recession, the business cycle is growth trend, but production positively curve. Fluctuation experience a business cycle and illustrated by the production expertise. A country is producing full employment level of output is the point at which PPC such as P points Y. When a country approaches a peak in business cycle, output temporarily expand beyond the full employment level. There is positive output gap. This is unsustainable as unemployment is below natural rate. Shortage scarcity ultimately cause the point. A fall is output below the potential outputs cause recession and movement to point inside PPC such as resulting in a negative output gap. A recovery occurs when an economy that is producing inside a PPC due to recession sees the output start to increase again, such as point. This is from context point. Common in misperception. An expansion is not necessary to economic growth. When economy is recovering from recession, it is the expansion phase of business, but is not experiencing growth rate. Economic growth occurs when potential actual output naturally increases over time. The growth is either shown as upward sloping trend or line. A business cycle model or output shift or a PPC economy can produce beyond its full employment level output. Resources can be overutilized, such as working very long hour. However, as an student has a pulled all night study, discussing question. That's all the video. Almost 15 minutes going to complete. We will going to win either of the any case. I'm going to create a startup around this. I'm going to help out people to create, to improve their speaking English rather than grammar. Just studying grammar don't help out them. That's my goal of this creating this video. First I want to improve my video, then I'm going to help out. That's it for the video. Thank you.